think Letterman will make jokes about Cher's daughter becoming a man like he did to Palin's daughter, that rot bum? You know, the advertisers for NBC should pull all their ads off for that jerk show for what he said about Palin's daughter. Rape jokes about a 14-year-old? Did you hear that joke? I don't listen to the guy, but I saw this on the internet, actually, on Breitbart TV. I could not believe what I was listening to. This buck-toothed dirtbag has the nerve to make ugly jokes about a 14-year-old girl getting raped by a baseball player. Now, what if somebody said the same thing about Obama's daughters? What would happen the next day? Play clip 2.
Now, here's the other joke they're upset about. Sarah Palin went to a Yankees game yesterday. There was one awkward moment during the 7th-inning stretch. Her daughter was knocked up by Alex Rodriguez.
CBS.
I'm telling you, I recognize that these are ugly. Yeah. These are actually ugly. These are borderline, but again, in an act of desperation.
David, you're ugly.
Cheap laughs, which is what I've been doing for the last 30 years.
Yeah, and you should pay for it one day when you visit God. Now, here's a guy who makes jokes about raping or having sex with a 14-year-old girl, and the laugh box is pressed by the guys behind the scenes. I ask you again, what if someone had made jokes about Obama's daughters in the same manner? Tell me if the advertisers would still be on the show. Listen to the next one, clip 3.
I would never make jokes about raping or having sex of any description with a 14-year-old girl. I mean,
you just
look
did
at
it.
my record. It has never happened. I don't think it's funny. I would never think it was funny. I wouldn't put it in a joke.
You just did. You buck-toothed liar, you. Listen to clip 4.
Now, here's the other joke they're upset about. This is a top 10, the category top 10 highlights of Sarah Palin's trip to New York. Number 2, bought makeup at Bloomingdale's to update her slutty flight attendant look.
CBS, Columbia Barry System, ABC, always Barry System, NBC, nothing but Barry.
The only thing I can say about this is I
turn it off. That. Listen to clip 5 now as Bucktooth tries to lie his way out of this slime.
Were the jokes in question in questionable taste? Of course they were. Of course. Do I regret having told them? Well, I think probably I do. But you know what? There are thousands of jokes I regret telling on this program. Would I do anything to advocate or contribute to underage sexual abuse or misconduct? Absolutely
not. Yes, you just did. All right. You know what? The advertisers on CBS have an obligation to walk off the set. If they can do it to the right, they can do it to the left. Letterman is a left-wing slimeball who's gotten away with murder for 30 years. He now talks about 14-year-old rape, and it's supposed to be funny? That's why I'm telling you I don't want to do politics today. There's another piece from the TV that's really shocking, and that's the drunk Danny DeVito, a slimy midget of a drunk coming on to an interview, or a woman interview. I don't know how he got away with this. Breitbart TV had this on, too. Danny DeVito is a guy who I think belongs in rehab or on The View because it's one and the same thing. Then you got Fox News Schlep Smith talking about his crazy viewers' emails. Listen to this lunatic in clip 14.
I read a lot of email around here, and the email to me has become more and more frightening. It's not a new thing. It's been happening over the past few months. It's been happening, to some degree since the election process went along. I mean, we had a woman, we had a black man, we had a lot going on. And there are people now who are way out there on a limb, and they are out there. Yeah. I mean, out there in a scary place.
Well, you're in a scary place because you pretend to be on a conservative network when you're a radical, flaming pinko. Listen to clip 15 from Schlep Smith from so-called Fox News.
I'm going to read to you a little bit from one, and I'm not going to read the name, but this is, I promise, a representative sample of the kinds of things that we get here. Shepard, how dare you tell us to get over Obama not being a U.S. citizen? Where is the birth certificate? Where? He won't show it. So why are you so trumped up to believe it? I cannot stand Hussein. He is a socialist Marxist who is at fast rate destroying our country.
Well, you see, Shep Smith doesn't have the intellectual horsepower to even understand what those words mean. So that's why I don't want to do politics today at all. You want hard, right-wing talk? Is that what you tuned in for? You want hard right-wing talk? You want me to talk about the real loss of freedom of speech as opposed to the ersatz variety from that vacuum cleaner salesman Rush Limbaugh? I can't believe the nerve of that slob that he says that his free speech is endangered when I'm the only one in the media who's facing the guillotine, and that slob tries to now co-opt what I'm actually going through. Shame on you, Limbaugh, but I know you have no shame. I'll be right back. Go back to the meat and potatoes, BS radio, right-wing garbage that you heard all day long, that, Hammerhead does and the golfer does all day long. And that moron who never went to college now with a blackboard and a blackboard now. He always wanted to be a professor. He heard that they were smart. So he puts a blackboard on television now. You hear this? It's unbelievable. I never saw anything like this. You talk about a right wing in disrepair and falling apart. You don't have to look any further than what's going on. I've never seen anything like this in my life. You say the Republican Party is finished. They were finished a long time ago. After Barry Goldwater, they were already on the wrong road. Then they had Ronald Reagan, who, by the way, was not so conservative. He was a fairly good president. I had problems with Ronald Reagan. He destroyed the family farm. I know that you don't understand that, but I did. I wrote many, many articles back in the 80s when he was ripping the family farm to shreds and creating these agribusiness complexes. So, no president is perfect. There is no Republican Party, so to speak. Well, there's a Republican Party. There's no conservatism within it, okay? There's no meat inside that bun. Now you look at the so-called conservative media. Let's analyze it. Where is the conservative media? Shep Smith on Fox News is conservative? Scarface on Fox News is conservative? Tell me who's conservative on Fox News. Occasionally they do a fabulous job. Once in a while I see something I can't believe I'm actually watching it. But you can't say that Fox is truly a conservative outlet anymore. It shifted a couple of years ago when Murdoch, the genius, saw that the Democrats were going to win because he knew that his buddies in the Republican Party had sacked the Treasury sufficiently for 8 years, and now it was time to put the phony game on to the Democrats. He figured Hillary would be the president. He backed her. No one ever thought that this college professor would be president. No one ever heard of him 3 years ago. No one ever saw this coming. But the point I'm making is, where do you find conservatism? You find it on a few websites, yes. You find it on a few blogs, yes. You find it in a few radio shows, yes. Tell me what happened to Newsmax. Tell me what happened to that outlet. What happened to them that suddenly they're glorifying the Democrat Party? It's almost exactly the same playbook as Shep Smith. Extremists need not apply, meaning anyone who's a true conservative need not apply to that outlet. Why? Why did that happen? That's why I don't really want to do politics today. That's our...
Now, here's the other joke they're upset about. Sarah Palin went to a Yankees game yesterday. There was one awkward moment during the seventh inning stretch. Her daughter was knocked up by Alex Rodriguez.
Who's in that audience? Vermin are in the audience there. That's not funny.
I'm telling you, I recognize that these are ugly.
Yeah.
These are actually ugly. These are borderline, but again, in an act of desperation to get cheap laughs, which is what I've been doing for the last 30 years.
Let's stop right here, but wait a minute. You read them. They were written for you by some pervert, and apparently you don't even know what you're reading anymore, Letterman. And so you're letting these deviants who write this garbage for you, who hate Sarah Palin because of her politics, you're letting them write jokes, and you're not taking responsibility for having talked about sex of any kind with a 14-year-old girl? You're not taking responsibility for jokes about raping a 14-year-old girl? Who are you passing it off to, Letterman? You read it, for God's sakes. And I am outraged by this because of a few reasons. One, because Letterman is not a funny man. He couldn't do his show during the writer's strike. Remember that. None of these guys in big comedy, okay, do their shows when there's a writer's strike. The writers write the jokes. Unfortunately, many of the writers are drug addicts and sexual deviants. All of them, 99% of them, are far-left radicals who hate conservatives, and they're making a mockery of Sarah Palin. I don't like Sarah Palin's politics. I think she'd be a terrible candidate. But you don't make jokes about her 14-year-old daughter getting raped by Alex Rodriguez unless you have no brains. And I still don't understand how CBS is boycott-free. I don't understand it. If we in conservative radio can suffer mistakes that we may make, Why is it that Letterman gets away with talking about raping a 14-year-old? This is certainly worse than anything I've ever heard conservatives do in radio, incidentally. But anyway, that's what it comes down to is this. We're at almost an end point here in American politics. We had Bush, a phony conservative. We have Obama, who's a very real Marxist with protectors in the media, including Fox News, who won't say the M word, even though the guy is a naked Marxist. It's astounding to me what's going on. It's almost not worthwhile talking about politics since the entire construct is a lie.
You know, as far as Shep Smith goes, that email he read was absolutely true.
Yes. Well, Shep Smith is an embarrassment to Fox News. He's a pretty boy in the middle of the day, and I don't know who listens to him, but the guy is so out of whack with the network that he's clueless. He's actually an innocent kind of guy who doesn't even know what he's talking about.
Michael, if there's any